up we have a panel of top producing agents. This panel is going to be moderated by Sandra Kirkland. Sandra has been a broker in the Halton West GTA region for over a decade. Known for being an early adapter, tech advanced, and never afraid to be progressive to raise the bar in the real estate industry, Sandra is truly passionate about public image of realtors and increasing education and integrity across the board. Our panelists are going to be Richard Silver from Toronto, Heather Beauchesne from Barrie, and Marg Scheben-Edey from right here in Collingwood. So I'll let Sandra
Good afternoon, everybody. Are you feeling as sluggish after lunch as I am? I don't know how many of you were out with us last night, but I know that there were quite a few familiar faces here this morning, so I hope you're feeling a little bit better than I am this morning. And staying. As Kieran said, we've got three fantastic realtors sitting on the panel before you this afternoon, and we've got an hour to really pick their brains about what makes them top producers in the market, what some of the tips and tricks that they've learned over their years in the market and how they've gotten to where they've gotten, and maybe some of the pitfalls and concerns that they maybe want to warn you guys, hopefully to be able to see in advance of falling into them, so that you guys can leave here today being a better realtor than when you came in this morning. Does that sound good? Yeah. Perfect. So I really like to engage the crowd. So if you guys have any questions as we move forward, put your hand up and I'll either come over and amplify your question for you, or we'll see if we can get you a mic. So what I want to do is I want to start off with the three of you introducing yourselves for those people here that don't know who you guys are. If you could just say your name, we'll start with Marg. Say your name, your brokerage, and maybe how long you've been in the business, and if you have any bragging rights or anything that you want to share about yourself. Marg, go ahead.
I'm Marg Scheben-Edey. I'm a broker with RE/MAX Four Seasons Realty here in Collingwood, which incidentally is the best place on earth to live. And I've been in the brokerage or in the real estate business for 28 years.
My name is Richard Silver, and I run a team out of Sotheby's International Realty Canada called Torontoism. I've been in the business for 38 years, started when there was no cell phones. Some of you may remember those days. And I've gone through different changes. I've sort of grown with the industry in that I used to be very involved with, leading edge technology, still love technology. But about 10 years ago, I noticed that there was a huge change in Toronto. We were getting lots of foreign buyers. So we created Torontoism, which basically, we speak 10 languages. There's 5 of us, and there's 10 languages, 7 with our assistants. So 10 languages, and that's the kind of work we do.
I'm Heather Beauchesne. I'm from RE/MAX J up in Barrie. I've been in real estate now. This is my 8th year, and a bragging right was I've been top 30 under 30 for a couple years.
Great, that's wonderful. Thanks, guys. So I want to get right back to the beginning of your careers, and I want you to talk a little bit about what it was like to get started. Did you find when you first got started that you were floundering and spinning your wheels a little bit? Did it take you a few years to really get that ball rolling? What did that look like? Can you describe a little bit about how long it took you to sort of get the ball rolling into your career?
I was the only realtor in the world in 1989 that lost money. And I'm not kidding, I lost $17,000 my first year in the business, which was 1989. Somehow I managed to persevere, and it really was all about the ABCs, right? When I started out, I will say I have never knocked on a door in my career, which is one thing I'm really relieved about. But I did everything else. I did a lot of open houses. Every agent in the office knew that I was looking for business, so anybody that I could help, I would help. I had the good fortune of having an agent retire in our office in my second year who I was able to buy her practice. And then it was just a lot of hard work, and that was through the early part of the 90s, which was a really, really tough time, but it was a great training ground because making it through that, I knew I could make it through anything.
So when I started, there was electric typewriters, and there was carbon paper, and handwritten offers on the top of cars. I did very, very well in my first month. I was thrilled. I sold 10 houses in my first month, and then I didn't sell anything for the next 3 months. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? I've changed my whole life, changed my whole career. But I can tell you that if the question is what advice would we give, I would just say put your head down for 2 years. Don't look at anybody else in the office, what they're doing. Just focus on what you're doing. See every house there is to see. Do every open house. And hopefully you have partners and family who will support you, and that's really important. If you don't, get rid of them.
My story is a little bit different. I actually got into real estate when I was 18 years old. I went to Georgian College for business admin, and I applied for one co-op job because he was the only one that paid me money, and it was to be an administrator for a realtor up in Barrie. He's one of the top agents over there. He and I got along great. He said, hey, you're really good at your job. We get along. You should get your license. So I said, sure. And that's how I got into real estate. So I got to learn all the ropes for 2 full years before I ever got my license. So doing the phases was a lot easier for me because I knew exactly what was going on. And I was with his team until about 3 months ago where I branched out on my own.
Heather, let's stay with you for a minute. And I want to talk, sorry. Then you'll get to weave 4 turns for your next one.
It's good to be in the middle.
I want to talk next about if you could think of one or maybe a small select few of those really, light bulb on aha moments, breakthrough moments that really made you go, I get this. Can you think of something that may have really triggered that for you?
Probably when I finally bought my first house when I was 25. Because before I dealt with a lot of first-time homebuyers, and getting in the business when I was 21, not owning a house, not many people take you seriously, especially if you see my picture from 8 years ago. I looked like I was like a 2-year-old kid selling houses, so it was a lot harder business back then. But once I actually went through the whole process of looking at a house and bringing my boyfriend through, I think we had to look at our house, and it was my own listing that we bought, which was fantastic for me because there was another second showing happening on the Saturday, so we bought it on the Friday because I was not missing out on this house. But it literally took my boyfriend 8 showings and twice during 2 open houses that I hosted for him to really go through actually wanting to buy this house, which drove me bonkers. So I said, I want this house. But it made me learn a lot better, especially with first-time homebuyers, how timid they are and how you have to technically baby them to go through the whole process and not say, oh, you love it, here's the paperwork. It's think about it and go through the whole process. So I only bought my first house. It was about 4 years ago now we've moved in. And I think that was the biggest turning point where I really fully understood the whole process of buying a house, and I'm never selling a house because I like my house now, but it was just a very good process of being able to learn the ins and outs and what people go through with the mortgage process and what people go through with the lawyers, because I never knew any of that stuff before. So now it's a lot easier when my clients ask me questions, I can answer them truthfully.
How many people here have bought and sold their own property in the last 5 years?
So I mentioned to you those 10 houses. It was actually 10 ends. I shouldn't have said 10 houses, but it was 10 ends. One of those ends was me sitting down with some people and asking them some questions, and they said, they were going to list their house with me, and I'd done a mailing. It was in my first month, and I said to them, I did some research, and I saw that you bought this 3 years ago. Why didn't you call that agent? And they said, what agent? We can't even remember their name. They never contacted us. So that started the Rolodex, that started the foil, those foil binders, that started the Commodore 64, the old Apple with the floppy disk, and yeah, I had a floppy, it's true, the floppy, I had a floppy. But that's why I got into technology, just because I thought we have to I think that's the most important thing about our business, is you need to systemize it. You need to have a CRM. And there's so many agents who don't, they fly by night. I mean, maybe they do in their mind, but as we get older, so I think systems are really, really important. I think that's one of the big things is CRM, it's gold. I use RealVolve right now. But there's reasons, and we can talk about that. It could be a whole other discussion. But RealVolve, I don't know. Has anybody here used RealVolve? Yeah. RealVolve.
RealVolve. Go ahead.
You know, that's actually a really tough question, because who has one light bulb moment? And in my case, it would be a culmination of things, because I never stop learning, and everything I learn seems to take it to another level. And but very early in my career, I remember going to, it was a Joe Stumpf seminar, and he made the point, you know, how many people out there are advertising that they're number one? And there were all these people going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was like, get out. You're not number one. Your clients should be number one. And, you know, as a new agent who had been going through Mike Ferry and all the different training programs, that really hit me. And it sounds so obvious, but it resonated with me and set the tone for the rest of my career. So being very service oriented and not just saying it, but living it. There really, really is a difference. When you read real estate ads and it's loyal, honest, trustworthy, experienced, all these, the consumer doesn't give a shit that you have that in your ad. It's what you demonstrate. You know, your actions are so much louder than the words that you're putting in an advertisement. And so spending time going deep, thinking, how can I be all those things without saying it, just being it? So I think that makes a difference. And the other three big aha changes in my career were hiring my first assistant, which was over 25 years ago, and she's here. And it has made such an enormous difference. Chris is licensed. She's my client care coordinator. She jumps in when I can't. But the synergy of another person is really, really important, let alone the workload. And CRM, I totally agree that the CRM is critical, and being able to systematize, and particularly if you have an assistant or a team or whatever, you can systematize every single thing you do and not miss a step along the way. But you can only do it if you have a CRM. You can only keep in touch with past clients if you have a good CRM. There are a lot of reasons. And then just the final thing would be blogging. And I don't know if that will come up later, but I started blogging 10 years ago. I'm over 1,200 posts now. And that has generated in the last 5 years anyway, over $150,000 a year in leads and income just from a blog. So it's been critically important for me.
Wow, that was really good. That was fantastic. Thanks, guys.
When it comes to sellers, we're at about 96% repeat and referral, which I'm very proud of. Yeah, it really, and that's a fallout of service. And when it comes to buyers, repeat referral would be number one. Second would most definitely be the blog specifically in terms of online lead generation.
All that, plus the biggest part of mine comes from referrals from other agents. Some of you may see those magazines that we handed out today. Those have been to India, to China, to almost every city in the United States. Every time I go on a holiday, I make sure I make appointments. I go and see the Sotheby's agents in the area. I do a lot of presentations about Toronto and what's happening and what the schools are, etc. Answers many questions, so I get a lot of referrals. I think a lot of things that we miss as agents is we do things only for our clients. Well, sitting up here talking to you, giving you those magazines, I'm hoping that next time you have a client for downtown Toronto, speaks Mandarin, speaks Farsi, Hindi, Punjabi, etc., you're going to think of us. You're going to think of our team. So I do a lot of marketing for the international, because those are the clients we're serving.
With my age group that I deal with mostly is I get a lot of my businesses either from Facebook. Most of the people it's from Facebook, so people I grew up with, we're all interconnected, so they say, hey, I see you're on Facebook all the time, you sell houses, I want to buy my first house, can you help? Or I've had people where like I post on Facebook all the time, but it's not just spamming them with my business. It's also more personal stuff. It's like, hey, just sold my friends a house, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. But then it's still like, hey, just played a hockey game, it was a good time. It's like, I had my brother block me from Facebook because he got annoyed with all this spam with like, oh, new listing here, new listing there. And then I was like, well, if my brother's gonna block me, I should probably stop doing that. So most of the time it's...
When your mother blocks.
That's true. If my mother blocks me, I have a really big issue. So most of it, I get my referrals, it's either from Facebook and they just see that, and they'll see that I'm doing a lot more work than their agent that they have. So then they say, well, I don't see him advertising anywhere, so I'm gonna use you. So it's either they see me from my advertising everywhere. I've got billboards, buses running around town. Facebook is the biggest one, and then online lead generation.
Have to do what the top producer in your market is doing in order to generate business. And as to what Richard said earlier, really just put your head down, focus.
We sort of have all identified a marketplace, and then we've gone after it. You know, the millennial marketplace, we're older than millennial marketplace. But, you know, and I do foreign, et cetera. So I think that's really important. Identify your marketplace and go after it.
David.
I also have Andrew, but Andrew does my Google ads. I have somebody who does Facebook ads and Instagram and stuff, but I don't really use an online service at all. What people can, if people end up on my website, which is what I push, they end up getting in a news, they can offer, you know, sign on to a newsletter. That's all. I don't use anything else other than that.
Mine's complicated, but that's why I have systems for everything. It depends on the quality of that. What I'm always looking for is the person who's going to raise their hand, because there's an awful lot of people at 11 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock in the morning have a fantasy of moving to Collingwood and, you know, respond to some online lead or whatever, and you never hear from them again. So generally what I will do is I will respond, and you know, I usually am dealing with about 100 emails a day, so it's a big commitment. But I will respond to them, ask them if they want to sign up for my newsletter, which goes out monthly. If they put their hand up and they're specific about what they're looking for, they go into a home finder program that I'm not monitoring. It's doing the work, it's sending it, they're getting the newsletter, so they're getting the contacts. And I actually, this is where it gets complicated. I run 2 different CRMs, but that's because that's the way my brain works. So I have one that is leads and one that is clients. So they go in the lead one, so then I can just see at a glance who those people are and who I need to follow up with. And when they become a client, they get moved into the other CRM. I'm sure there's a better way, but that's how I do it.
Sounds good to me. We're just complaining. We have, in RealVolve, we have all these tags. You know, you tag people, active subscriber, da, da, da. We have like 168 tags.
Who's doing that? I got a separate one.
Heather, do you want to talk a little bit about product placement?
He literally does everything. I have no idea. It just, everything runs. If I have a new listing, I just say, hey, new listing, here you go. And then he does all the advertising for it. If I have questions about the leads and how he does the background, so he does the lead follow-up, and then he now puts a phone number on it, so I actually have to call people because I'm not a people person, which is weird in real estate. I don't like picking up the phone and cold calling people. It's not my forte. That's why I just hire an assistant who loves talking to people. But literally, he does everything for me. He helps me out with my website, with all my promotions coming up. He tries to get me to do videos, which sometimes I do them and a lot of times I don't. But he does all my advertising on Instagram, on Facebook, and anything I need, he does it all.
So automation is key. I think all 3 of you would agree that some form of automation, whether you're hiring it out or having a program do it for you, is really important. So the 3 of you have also touched on something else in the last couple of questions that I want to focus a little bit more on, your past client follow-up. So we've all agreed that CRMs are really important in maintaining your database and knowing who is in your database and making sure that you're always forefront in their mind. But what does your follow-up look like? You know, are you doing postcards? Are you doing mail-outs? Are you doing pop buys? Are you doing the 1-year anniversary of their closing? What does that look like?
Well, for me, it's a blog that I do all the time, and hopefully people subscribe to it, but it's part of my website.
By the way, I love Richard's blog. You really should sign up to Richard's newsletter. It's a fantastic newsletter.
And then the newsletter basically is a combination of some of those blogs, plus some of our new listings, plus other things that are happening in the marketplace. And then they get that once a month. And then for you as realtors, if you're on as an Ontario realtor, when we get new listings wherever, you'll get a thing as well. But a lot of it, I used to do parties and everything, and you know what, I think I have to get a social convener to do it for me, because it just seems so, I don't know if you guys are doing client parties, it just seems so onerous these days. So anybody know of somebody who wants to do parties for realtors, let me know. I'd love to do that, have a social coordinator.
Is your newsletter online or in print?
Online, always online. And I worked really hard years ago. I used to do a print one. I worked really hard to convert everybody online. From the oldest to the youngest, I just, online, clients online. Don't answer the question to the other realtor. Ask them to please send me an email. I pass it to my client answers it, and we send it back online in writing, please.
One of the things that I want to point out about Richard's newsletter as well, I think I might have made it. There's a lot of personality in Richard's team newsletter. So he talks about his team members and their family activities, and he shows pictures of his team members with their families and with their kids and their travels around the world and some of the professional conferences that they go to together as a team, as well as some of the accomplishments that they achieve as a family. And I think that adds that connection that your clients and your prospective clients would have to you as a person rather than just a service provider. And I think that's really important.
So I have a theory in my mind that within the next 4 or 5 years, I probably want to get out of the business. I'm not exactly young. I'm almost as old as Barry Lebo, but and the reality is that's why I chose the name Torontoism and not Richard Silver. I don't want it to be about me. The more it is about, there was I had a couple of interviews offered to me last week. They were not done by me. I passed them on to other people on my team because I want them to become, I want Torontoism to be the team. I want to be able to sell that. You can't sell Richard Silver, except unless you're there.
Unless your name's Richard.
Marg, I think Tony had a question.
Just going along with what you're saying about farming past clients and using the CRM that way, kind of tying into the panel this morning, do any of you specifically focus on past realtor clients as keeping in touch with them as sort of a follow-up as part of your CRM or in any other way?
I do, yeah. I do.
Only to an extent that if they have opted in, that they're getting my newsletter, or if we have an ongoing relationship where I would have ongoing contact. So that's probably something I'm kind of weak on, but it's not a huge component of my business.
Do any of you like develop content aside from you getting your client newsletter, which is not necessarily useful to me?
Yeah, realtor stuff, no.
I have a lot of technology, like the top 10 apps that the team is using this year and why they're using it, but it is sort of agnostic. It could be used for clients, it could be, so I think that's really important. And also things like top 10 places to buy whole foods, top 10 places to buy natural beef, top 10 places to, restaurants, etc. I think those are wonderful blogs, and they're very community-based. So everything you do that's community-based, top 5 restaurants in Rosedale, whatever.
I do a lot of military transfers. So I probably communicate the most with those past referrals because people are always getting posted to base Borden, so I deal with them all the time, and I'm fully bilingual. So I get a lot of clients from Quebec and whatnot, so I will keep in touch with those realtors because there's always people coming to base Borden, and it's always nice to have connections when I got my people on base Borden and getting sent off to whether it's the East Coast, the West Coast, or if they're off to Ottawa. But usually it's just in and around posting season, I'll contact them saying, hey, just want to say thanks for the past referrals, send them a card, and whenever I get a referral from them, I'll probably send them an edible arrangement with some extra cards. And usually at the start of the year, I just request from all my past referrals to send me at least a dozen business cards. So when I have my posting season coming up, I have their actual business cards saying, I've worked with them, I've had great results from them, and here's a business card.
Oh. I use MailChimp for mine.
I've gone over to the dark side. I outsource everything. I even outsource sleep from time to time. But no, I don't know if you know the agent Julie Kinnear in Toronto. She's a very successful agent. Her brother, Alec Kinnear, has a place in Bratislava. He has 25 people there. They work full-time on my website. I send them messages, and they do the newsletters, and they do everything. But I think they send it out through another. We collect all the names through RealVolve, but they send it out through another software that seems to be very good at not getting bounces.
And I just use Kitspack for all my newsletters, but it's only to my clients. I don't do 2 separate ones for random leads. All my leads follow-up is what Andrew does.
Sherry?
With the castle regulation, and a lot of people, not everybody comes through to you because they sign up for your newsletter. You're putting people in that for whatever reason. Have you found, are you actually scrubbing your lists now? Are you concerned about that, or are you just letting it go? And how's it working with the castle?
Just as far as I'm concerned, for years and years and years and years and years and years, ever since I started, I've been giving people right at the top, unsubscribe. And big, bold letters, unsubscribe, unsubscribe. If they want to unsubscribe, I'm happy to let them unsubscribe, and I keep on telling them about that. So I put it I don't send them out an email specific one, but I do talk about it in my newsletter and say, I'm happy, if this is an issue for you, unsubscribe, please.
I did that 2 years ago when they started talking about it, and that's when I switched to MailChimp. So anybody who was getting my previous one had to resubscribe, and since then, it's only by subscription. So if they don't subscribe, they're not on the list.
Richard, you're always in the forefront. Why are you not doing more videos and upload it to all of them?
I'm not doing videos? Oh my God. More videos. I probably have about 80 videos. We have a YouTube channel that has them. I'll tell you one of the things that has come to light about video. So years ago, I did some personality videos. Hi, I'm Richard, and this is what I do, da, 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 da. And then I would do property videos. And then I would do community videos, me talking about what I like about the community. Guess which ones get the most hits? The community. So if you're going to go out there and you're going to spend money on doing them, what do you like about Collingwood? What do you love about the area? What are the restaurants, the schools? Do that. It'll pick up your personality. It will pick up your personality. Don't worry so much about, I've been, I'm this, I'm that, I'm da 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 da, I'm, whatever.
I just don't like doing videos. I'm awful at them, straight up, and I've sent a couple of them to Andrew, and he's like, is this your first take? I'm like, yeah, sometimes I have a really good take, but most of the time it's 30 takes, and I'm just not happy with the results, and it's not what I want. And I've only done property videos, or I've done a video saying, I've got a buyer looking for this, but yeah, I just, ugh.
Just, you know what? No matter how bad you think you are, if you're just answering the question about what you like about the area, you're brilliant. You're much more relaxed. Seriously, I'd never do property videos where I'm speaking. I never do them where I'm a personality. I just do them talking about what I like. And I've found with our team, when they do those kind of videos, they're great. The minute we start scripting it and getting it to, it looks like shit. Sorry.
Yeah, somebody said that, Dave Schometz, he made that point one day. Nobody worries about, how they look or whatever. And it's like, what happens when you run into a client in the grocery store? I mean, they see you too. You don't run in the other aisle, go, just a minute. Hide behind the chicken. Just a comment on video. How many people here use BombBomb? Wow, a lot of missed opportunity. It is great. I can't say how wonderful it is. And I do now a lot of my email through BombBomb. So congratulations on a closing. Thank you for a referral. Thanks for getting in touch. It's a great way to convert your online leads. And, got the camera right sitting there on my desktop. And it takes about 30 seconds now for me to do a very quick video and send it off to them. And they're seeing your face, they're hearing your voice, and you've just leapfrogged 5 emails of building trust. Also with your clients, it's a little different than a phone call. If you can't do a pop-by, we deal with distances here, where it can be difficult to do that, or our client is 2 or 3 hours away. Instead of a phone call, they get a video that's personalized to them, and we have a little whiteboard, and I hold it up in front of me, and it'll have their name on it. So, you know, hi Janet, so that they know it's not some spam video, that it's geared at them directly. You would not believe the open rate, because I get a report through BombBomb. Often I'll have 30 to 40 times that people have opened one email. And I think, are they obsessive? Like, that's gross. But you know what it is? They're sharing it. They're going, look at this, look what my agent sent me. And they're passing it on and on and on. So I can't say enough, if you're not using it, really take a look at BombBomb. It's a time saver and a relationship builder that's great.
So that's a great segue into my last question, because I've been given the 2 minutes notice about 6 minutes ago. So I really want to wrap this up nice and quick with one last question. If you could list off 2 or 3, maybe just one, because we're running out of time, of, you know, one of your most important must-have apps, websites, platforms, something techie that you're using in your business that's setting you apart, a head and shoulders. So Marg mentioned BombBomb, maybe she's got another. Richard, why don't you talk a little bit about what's been imperative in terms of a tool that people can go and sign up for today?
Well, because I live in Toronto, you need Waze. W-A-Z-E. If you don't have Waze, forget it. And Parkopedia. How many of you are using Parkopedia? That's really cool. It's all good all over the world. Shows you we can get the best price on parking in the downtown core, and by area, whether it's street parking or in parking, etc., because you need to get around. So Parkopedia and Waze.
I don't really use that many apps for my stuff because I don't live in Toronto, but
Just sell homes.
It's Just Sell Homes would be my best tool, because that is what has helped my business grow significantly since I started with Andrea about 2 years ago.
So just to wrap it up, if you guys could provide that one important piece of advice to anybody here in this room, whether they've been in the business for 50 years or whether they've been in the business for 50 minutes, what's the one piece of advice that you could give to everybody here that could help them grow their business in your own opinion and experience?
Oh, God. Sexual favors.
Excuse me.
You were asking.
Systems.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Systems, and also, you know what? Think long term. Too many agents think short term. How much money am I going to make on this one deal? And they don't think long term. In other words, what's this year going to look like? And look at it at the end of the year and review it, and then the next year. A lot of times I deal with agents, oh, I don't want this referral, but you know what? You may, like somebody said that to me yesterday, I offered them a referral and they didn't want it, and I'm thinking, great, you just walked away from a lot of business over the years because you were worried about what this one little referral wasn't enough money for you. And I'm going, I shake my head. Do that and go to the opening of an envelope. That's the other one.
What's that?
Go to in other words, in anything you get invited to, go. Even if somebody's going to open an envelope, oh, I'll be there, sure. Oh my God. I guess I went, sorry. Go to that's what I say. People say, well, how come you're here? And I go, well, I'd go to the opening of an envelope.
Good one. That's a good one.
God, I can't think. For me, just in the system was, I just started my own team about 3 months ago because I was working my butt off, running a different team, and I was doing everything. So I literally was thinking, okay, what do I need to do for my boyfriend to actually want to marry me after 7 years together? I'm like, I probably should be at home a little bit more often because I would work 24/7. I wouldn't go on holidays, or if I was on holidays, I was still answering my phone, dealing with everything. Even though I had another partner, I've had issues with the other partner before, so my biggest thing was learning to manage my time a lot better so that I can actually take a weekend off and turn off my phone and not have to worry about it. And then before I used to be, okay, I need to make my next paycheck. You never know what this market's going to do. And I said, okay, I'm just going to work. And then I was just completely fed up. I was exhausted. I wasn't happy with work anymore. And then I just took the step saying, I need to have a life again, and I need to do better time management. And the best thing I ever did was go on my own.
Ladies and gentlemen, these three people are a wealth of knowledge and experience and are fantastic people to go to with the simple on how you guys can continue to grow and build your business. Feel free to approach them over the remainder of the day today, and thank you.